What's going on with y'all boys? Today we're back with another episode of Rand Kyle Everything Sports Podcast. Today we're going to be running through our updated top 10 NFL teams. So who we starting out with number 10, Kyle?
Another solid week in the NFL world. Not too much movement, but there is some. A newcomer in the top 10, the Cleveland Browns. You know, this is the team that's been winning without their quarterback. Deshaun Watson, still off the field. He finally got back last week, had a pretty solid game, threw for 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards. So he's still trying to get into the swing of things. But Amari Cooper had his best game in probably a couple of years. 5 catches, 139 and 2 touchdowns. But they do have a big upcoming game against the Ravens. So I want to see them compete against the Ravens, who's probably the hottest team in the NFL right now. And I think they can. They have the best defense in the league. They're only giving up 11 points per game, so that's just crazy. This defense is very solid, and I do like this Browns team, but I want to see them compete against the Ravens this week and Deshaun Watson to be more consistent and be on the field more.
I agree. I like this Browns team. I've had them right outside of my top 10 for a while. This Browns team is starting to get a little hot. Their defense is really good. I liked them in a couple of games this year, especially beating the 49ers, showing up there. And I think they'll have a good showing against the Ravens this week.
For my number 9 team, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. I understand that they lost, but these are not the standings. I do still believe in this Buffalo Bills team. Now, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I do believe that they can beat some of the top teams. They still just have so much talent. Diggs, that whole defense with Von Miller, Josh Allen, Gabe Davis. We know what they have on the team as far as talent goes, but Josh Allen's turnovers still continue to bite him in the butt. He had another bad turnover against the Bengals that was really kind of the biggest part of the game. His just ability to be able to turn the ball over constantly is bad. He leads the league in interceptions since 2018, since 2019, since 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So the thing with him is he needs to just learn how to be consistent, which I don't know if he can be consistent. I really don't. But this team has too much talent. They have a great, easy, winnable game coming up against the Broncos that I think they will win. And I think they'll, start to get healthier on the defense side of the ball with those injuries that got coming back. So I have the Buffalo Bills at 9, but I think they can move up, and they will.
Yeah, I think you do have to keep the Buffalo Bills right at the that 10-9 mark just because they do have so much talent and they can beat the good teams, but they could also lose to the bad teams. I don't know what's up with this team and why they're so inconsistent. I think partially it's because of their quarterback's inconsistency with holding on to the ball, but they have more difficulties even on defense. I don't know if it's a coaching thing that's having them so inconsistent, but this team needs to be more consistent, especially going into the playoffs.
For my number 8 spot, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team is good. They're good. They don't do anything great, but they're on a 5-game winning streak. They have a top 7 quarterback and good weapons with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne. They have solid weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but they're not great on defense, but they're not bad either. They're a very mediocre team on the defense side of the ball, but they're pretty solid on offense. They have a big test versus the 49ers this week, so I want to see them be able to go. Both teams are coming off a bye week, but the 49ers are currently favored by 3. So I want to see them compete against the 49ers this week and possibly win, and they can move up for me. But the biggest thing for me is they haven't been blowing out these bad teams, and I need to see them, constantly put on a great performance each and every week.
Yeah, to me, that's the biggest thing is that this Jaguars team, I don't believe in them, mostly because they're just allowing games to be too close, and they're going to go up against a good 49ers team this week. I believe that 5-game win streak is over. We know the Jaguars have been coming up recently, and I believe that next year might be their year. I just don't believe that this is their year. I still feel like they have some holes to fill. So for me, I would have them a little lower, but I believe this Jaguars team next year.
For my number 7 spot, I've got the Detroit Lions. This Lions team, they got back on the winning side against the Raiders, winning 26-14. And, they're a very legit team with a capable quarterback in Jared Goff, good weapons with Laporta, Gibbs, and Montgomery coming back off that back injury that he had. They still have St. Brown, and they have a pretty solid defense as well, a much improved defense. They do have a pretty solid game coming up against the Chargers team, who's currently on a 2-game winning streak. So I do think that they'll go into LA and beat that Chargers team. But my biggest thing is I need to see more consistency out of them as well, because although they have been playing pretty solid, their biggest game against the Ravens, they really didn't show up at all and got destroyed by a good Ravens team. But if this team just keeps continuing to win and beat the bad teams and knock off some good opponents, they'll just move up for me.
I can agree with this. I like this Lions team a lot. Ever since they dropped 42 points without their star receiver, St. Brown, I've liked this Lions team. Their defense is really good. Their offense is amazing. So I think this Lions team actually has a legit shot at making a deep run in the playoffs. So I can agree with putting them at 6.
For my number 6 spot, and this team has a good chance of moving down after this week out of the San Francisco 49ers. They went into their bye on a 3-game losing streak and pretty concerning questions at the quarterback position. The biggest thing for me is how do they look after the bye week? CMC is getting healthier. Debo is coming back, but Trent Williams is still probably going to be out because he was a non-participant in practice yesterday. So I'm not sure about Trent, but he's getting Debo back. CMC is only getting healthier, and they got a new trade acquisition with Chase Young. So that's going to just improve their defense. Now they're going to have Bosa and Young, which is only going to help their American quarterback even more. But my biggest thing is, how do they look when they trail? They're gonna go up another good team this week. That's gonna probably be a good game. So how does Brock Purdy look when the game's on the line? How does Brock Purdy look in these crucial clutch situations? But this team has all the weapons and talent to be number one. But the biggest concern and the most important concern is the quarterback position for me.
I can agree with putting them right around this, maybe a little higher for me. I think they've had some recent struggles, but I do believe this 49ers team is still one of, if not the best team in the NFL. They just need to show it again. I think that around Brock Purdy, all the options are amazing. And then you got Brock Purdy, who I still believe in. I think these recent struggles have been actually a benefit for him because now they show him you're human. You need to come back down to earth. You need to learn how to play from behind because he hasn't had to. He's been in his young career. He's been leading everything. But now he's like, oh, there's a whole different game whenever I have to play from behind. So now that he's been able to see that, I think he'll be able to grow from that, and I think it'll help him moving forward, especially when they get into the playoffs. You don't want him to get in the playoffs and be his first game playing from behind, and then these struggles happen then. So it's a good thing they're happening now, and I think he'll build from that going forward, and I think they'll have a good run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad point at all, and if we work out that way. Now, this is where it gets kind of tough and tricky, but from the number 5 spot, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this team has been playing amazing football. Dak has been balling, coming off of 350 and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against the Eagles. The last 3 games, 8-1 TD to INT ratio. He's playing probably top 5 quarterback play right now, honestly. Just the past 3 games, he's playing amazing, and that's why they've been beating teams and being able to play against good teams like the Eagles. They could have very easily beat the Eagles last week. I mean, no doubt about that, but I'm loving what I'm seeing for them. CeeDee Lamb has really taken over as a true top 10 and a true number 1 wide receiver, coming off back-to-back 100-yard games. So I really love what I'm seeing from them. Their defense is still solid. I mean, last week against the Eagles, yeah, they didn't have any turnovers, but the Eagles did put the ball on the ground 3 different times. They just got it back all 3 times. So, if the Cowboys defense just get one of those turnovers, it could be a different game. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Cowboys, and they could definitely move up, no doubt about that. But I want to see them, start to beat up on these bad teams. They got the Giants, the Panthers, and the Commanders these next 3 weeks. So I want to see them beat up on these bad teams and do what they need to do, and then they'll stay or move up for me.
I think this is too low. I don't believe after watching that Eagles game that the Cowboys are worse than the Eagles. I believe the Eagles got lucky. I mean, the Cowboys didn't get any turnovers, and the Cowboys had 3 chances to win the game. They lost by a few inches on the 4th and goal. They lost to a toenail from Dak Prescott, and they lost to a route that was 2 yards too short from CeeDee Lamb. So, I mean, any of those turn out a different way, that game ends a different way. So, to me, and especially with that game being as close as it was, the Cowboys having a chance to come out without having turnovers, I don't know that Eagles team is better, even though they won the game. So I believe this Cowboys team showed us what they needed to show us. We were waiting to see how they performed against a good team and waiting to see them show up against a good team, and they did. They showed up for sure. They still lost the game, but they get to play the Eagles again at home coming up later this year, and I think that it's going to be a completely different story. So for me, I'd have the Cowboys significantly higher.
So where would you put them, and who would you put them over?
I would have to keep the Eagles over them because they did beat them. You would have to do that. I would keep the Chiefs over them because I think the Chiefs are, and so I'd put them at 3.
So you have who? So you put them over the Ravens and the Bengals at this point?
100%.
Over the Ravens, 100%.
100%.
That's very, very, very.
If they ever played, Lamar would turn the ball over too many times. That Cowboys defense.
That's very wild to say. I don't understand how you put them over. I think the Ravens are playing the best football right now out of anybody.
I think that if you put the Cowboys at 1, even after they lost the Eagles team, I wouldn't argue with you.
Well, there's just no basis for that argument.
No, there definitely is because the Eagles team at this point, you have to put number 1. And to me,
Absolutely
yes, you do. Yes, you do. They've
They
only
have a,
lost one game.
they have a glaring no, they have a glaring weakness though. Glaring weakness.
Okay, to me, the Eagles are the number one team in football right now. They've only lost one game. They've beat good teams. We've seen them showing up now. They beat the Dolphins and the Cowboys. They're the number one team. And then after watching that game, I'm not sure the Eagles are better. So if you're making that argument that I don't think that the Eagles are better, even though they won the game, you could have a case to put them at one. The Cowboys.
Absolutely not.
I
With
disagree.
with no notable wins, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to put me
Just
over
watching,
some of these other
every game,
teams.
you see how powerful that defense is. You see that offense starting to click. You see Dak Prescott actually starting to show up in big games.
Oh yeah.
If they can continue that, this team will win the Super Bowl this year.
Listen, whenever they start beating good teams, they'll
They
move
beat
up
the
for me.
Chargers. The Chargers is a good team,
Yes, but the guys that have over them have much better resumes than the Cowboys.
but it's not a standing. We're looking at rankings.
Yeah.
I'm ranking the Cowboys. The Cowboys are solid on every stage of all three stages of football. They are top three in every stage of the game.
Yes, but they can't beat really good teams. You know, the teams that have over them, they couldn't beat.
Okay, I disagree because we're looking at
the 49ers beat them too, and I have them below her.
Okay, that's true. The 49ers one is the only reason that I'm not saying they're 110% number one. Because after watching an Eagles game, you can't make the case that the Eagles are significantly better than the Cowboys.
No, and I'm not. That's why, for my number 4 spot, I have the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's crazy.
This Eagles team is really good. No doubt about that. But Jalen Hurts is banged up. He's not playing great football. And they have a glaring weakness. Their secondary is atrocious. There's been 19 quarterbacks to throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns. 4 of those 19 have been against the Philadelphia Eagles, and 5 after Sunday. What Prescott did to them. So, I mean, their secondary is bad. If you could just block the Philadelphia Eagles like the Cowboys did, their secondary can get got. I mean, even last year, Kirk Cousins had a great game against them. Mahomes had a great game. I mean, any good quarterback who got protection was able to annihilate that secondary. And that's what I think is the biggest weakness. And now Dallas Goedert is going to be out for 4 weeks too with an injury. So my thing is, can this team get better in the secondary? Because against these great teams, I mean, like the Cowboys showed them, the Cowboys could have easily beat that team. Am I wrong, Ray?
Oh, 100%.
Could have easily beat them. And I think next time they do play, the Cowboys will beat them because the Cowboys, I feel like, are a better team. But you can't put them over them after they just lost to them. That's why these rankings and these things are subject to change because they will change. Because I think these questions will be answered. And my biggest question is that secondary is a huge question and really a concern for me. The number 3 spot, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. This team is officially back. You know, they get off to slow starts. We've seen them do that the past 3 years with Joe Burrow at quarterback. But, I mean, they have wins against the Bills and the 49ers. I mean, they're knocking off some pretty damn good teams. Burrow looks healthy. I mean, he's officially back. The first 4 games, he had 2 rushing yards. Last week against the 49ers, he had 45 in that game. So he's healthy. He's back. I love what I'm seeing from Chase as well. Chase had 4 for 40. Higgins had 8 for 110. And Tyler Boyd had 3 for 56. So that trio of receivers is back too. They still have Hayden Hurst as well at that tight end position. So I love what I'm seeing from them. And they do have a few sneaky games coming up, though. With the Texans, they may be without both Higgins and Chase. So that's going to be hard to pull that off. It's a pretty good and feisty Texans team. And then they play the Ravens after that. So I like what I'm seeing from this team. I mean, they're definitely back. They're on a 4-game winning streak, so I love what I'm seeing from them as far as that goes. Burrow looks back healthy. So if this team continues to do what they do, they're definitely going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll put them quite this high yet, just because I still need to see a little bit more. And that slow start was very slow. It took them a while. It took them longer than usual. But that offense is so good. I mean, Joe Burrow is arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, I don't think you can make a case for anybody at number 1 except for Patrick Mahomes, but you could definitely start to make a case for Joe Burrow at 2. So then you look at his wide receiver core. I think it's the best in college football. As far as completeness, I know you have like Hill and Waddle in Miami, and you have a lot of other good wide receiver duos. But if you look at a trio, a 1, 2, and a 3, I mean, they could beat you with a 1, 2, 3 punch all over on the side of the offense. So, and that defense is solid as well. So, which you're going to need in the AFC with all those high-powered offenses. So, I really like this Bengals team. I think they're starting to pull it back. I don't quite have them that high yet, but I could see them pretty soon being that high for me too.
For the number 2 spot, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. This team probably has the best resume, smashing the Lions team, Seahawks, Browns, and Bengals. Now, I do understand that the Browns and the Bengals, well, the Bengals were basically without Joe Burrow. I mean, he was still banked up at that point with that calf. And the Browns, they had, I think, the 5th-round rookie out of UCLA, Dorian Thompson. But the Lions and Seahawks were fully healthy teams, and they just destroyed them. And those are the most recent games. I mean, Lamar is playing the best football probably of his career, just considering the fact that he's doing it with his arm as well. They have some pretty good talent at the receiver position as well. The rookie Flowers is really stepping up and coming to his own, and Odell is looking actually pretty good. His first touchdown in a while since the Rams, but this team is really, I mean, they're a really solid team all around. They have a top 5 defense. They're only giving up 17 points per game, and they're averaging 2 turnovers per game as well. So I love what I'm seeing from them. But my concerns will come later in the season because right now, I mean, they're no doubt a top 5 team. But, my questions will be answered in the postseason. So we'll see where they go. But right now, I mean, this team is playing the best football out of anybody right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's going to be how can this team handle prosperity because they haven't had to recently. I agree with you. Lamar is really starting to show. I mean, we know what he's been for a while with his legs. He won MVP with his legs, but now his arm, I think, is arguably better than his legs this year. I mean, he's throwing that ball like he should be. So, and then you look at the defensive side of the ball, they have arguably one of the best defenses in the league. So I think they'll continue to dominate the teams in the regular season that they should. I like to see them with a couple of better teams that are at full strength going forward. I'll hope to see them in the playoffs matchup later on because they're going to be a higher seed, so they're not probably going to play against any super great team in the first round, but love to see them over there play against the Bengals or the Bills or the Dolphins or the Chiefs and really see what they're made of. But if that second round, if they can win against one of those teams, start to talk about this team as a Super Bowl contender because they have the defense and the quarterback to do it.
For my number 1 spot, and I understand this may not be the most popular decision at the moment, but this pick will see out, and you'll look back and be like, yeah, he was right. The Kansas City Chiefs. I understand that, yes, the offensive woes are concerning, but my whole point is if the biggest concern for the Chiefs is their offense, watch out for them boys. I mean, their defense is top 3, no question about that. Their defense shut out a great explosive Miami's offense team the whole first half, and their defense pretty much won the game for them in that entire game. Like I said before, if the offense is the biggest concern for the Chiefs, with Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid, I'm betting on them to figure it out. I mean, you give Mahomes a top 5 defense, probably a top 3, maybe arguably the best in the league right now. I think that he'll figure out the offensive side of the ball. So they do have some decently big games, but not a really tough schedule. Yeah, they're still going to play the Bills, and they're still going to play the Bills at some point, but I mean, they have wins against the Dolphins, the Jags, and a decent Chargers team. So, I mean, and their offense isn't that bad. I mean, they're 7th in yards per game. They're 2nd in points per game. And they're not second. They're 2nd in passing yards per game. But they are 12th in points per game. So, I want to see them be able to finish drives with touchdowns and not turn the ball over so much. But, like I said before, if the biggest worry is the offense, I think the Chiefs team will be just fine.
Yeah, I have to agree. This Chiefs team is very good. They're sneakily very good because they don't have Tyreek, so I don't think people are talking about them as much because you don't have to see all the clips and explosive plays. But to me, the biggest thing about this team seems to really, really like each other in the locker room. I feel like it's a good locker room. I feel like when these guys go out there, they enjoy their job. They enjoy coming to work every day to get to play the game. I feel like they enjoy playing football together. You look at some teams around the league that aren't doing as well, and you're like, man, I bet they could go in the locker room and wouldn't even know half the players' names. But I feel like this Chiefs team, I mean, you see the relationship between the quarterback and some of the wide receivers and the quarterback and the tight end and some of the defensive guys. I mean, they seem like they go out and they hang out outside of football and they actually really enjoy each other, and that translates to the field really well. So I think that when you look at it, they're a fun team to watch for that reason. I think they're a good team. I think they really strive to win. So I feel like this team really, really has a shot of going back-to-back this year.
Well, y'all, we appreciate y'all watching, and as always, tune in next time.
Peace.